Hi everyone, welcome to this interview by COREcruitment. Thanks very much for joining us today. COREcruitment, if you're not aware, is an international recruitment company. We do mid to senior level recruitment across exec and non-exec positions. And we're running this interview series to inject some positivity into the sector. And we're speaking to lots of different business founders and entrepreneurs and corporate individuals and just people that are doing interesting stuff within our sectors that we operate in. And you can see all these interviews on our website, which is www.corerecruitment.com, or on Spotify or on YouTube or anywhere else you want to pick them up. If you can recommend anyone who you think would be a great future speaker, then please do let us know, because we're always looking for fresh individuals to speak to. Now, if you open the Oxford Dictionary and you look under it, under the word entrepreneur, you will see the words Jason Myers, and there's a photo of him smiling and waving at you because he's one of the most inspirational entrepreneurial people that I've ever met. I met him for the first time in Dubai about 15 years ago when he was running multiple different concepts across a massive portfolio for Jumeirah in this big international global role. He's 300 ideas a minute, but the difference with him is he actually makes them all happen, but just simultaneously, which I think is your superpower, right, Jason?
I think I am blessed, Christian, and it was amazing to meet you all those years ago in Dubai, and I'm glad that we've got the opportunity to work together since. But yeah, it's I'm blessed by some incredible people that I get to work with, which I think is often overlooked in our incredible industry. But yeah, I'm lucky to be part of two co-founders that lead our company and do lots and lots of different projects. Yeah.
Lots of different projects. I mean, so let's get into a little bit, because if somebody's maybe not from our sector, and I know there's lots of people from in sector who you know extremely well, but
Yeah.
but if somebody isn't aware of your business and what you guys kind of like do with Splendid projects, can you just give us a little overview?
Yeah. So when I came back from my last proper job, which was when I spoke to you, as vice president of Jumeirah, I went over as managing director of Jumeirah Restaurants, as you know. And then for some crazy reason, they kept promoting me and until I came back. So that was my last proper job, I guess. Since then, I came back. I co-invested with my business partner, David Ramsey, who's ex-private equity investor in the sector, because he's good at everything I'm not. And I'm okay with all the other stuff he's not. So between us, we invested whatever cash, pennies, beg, borrow, and steal, family members' money, and created Splendid Investments. So basically, as a nutshell, Splendid is an incubator, a small investment group that invests in talented individuals, whether that be a chef, a restaurant guy, a pub guy, a hotel guy, and girls, of course. And we invest in those leaders and help co-create what we think are fabulous offers for the consumer.
Excellent. Now, I mean, you see, like you made them all sound really small, but I mean, like Bancone, which is one of your investments, is a 10-site, multi-million pound business, which is killing it in London at the moment. So, can you tell us about some of the larger projects that have been scaling?
Yeah. I mean, we're blessed with Bancone. I mean, obviously, it's a darling of the London food scene. I think Will and Ben and the team there over the last 8 years have done a phenomenal job. Really pleased to tell you that it's going to go to Paris early
Oh,
next year,
wow.
and it's also going to Dubai. So we are super excited. So I'll be back in trade in Dubai again with our amazing team out there. So yeah, with Bancon has been a great success, and obviously we're keen to keep that going. We're not slowing down anytime soon. I think they've got two builds in London underway at the minute, and a whole host of stuff lined up for next year. So David is busy running around all over London, signing more sites for Bancone, which just goes from strength to strength. So yeah, we're absolutely delighted with that. We've also got an award-winning, amazing little pizza business we're super proud of. 2 times national pizza champions, Crust Bros. We opened a big site in Covent Garden. We're about to do another one yet, but I better not tell you because Joe's not announced that. So this is where I get into trouble between being the group guy and then stealing the thunder of my talented leaders. So I'll let Joe announce the next one. But yeah, I think we're doing another couple more Crust Bros, which is great news. and obviously we've launched Barang, which has been a phenomenal success. We did it as a 6-month pop-up with a super talented chef there, Tom, and we've just bought him his first site in. I think that's been announced in the press, so that's opening in Kingley Court in about 5 weeks' time. So yeah, super excited about that one. I think this Cambodian food scene, his food's just delighted. And I expect that one to do big things. And then, of course, we do hotel projects. Wild Time and Honey was massively award-winning for us. Obviously, Grosvenor's gone now, but we've got some more hotel projects coming up. We're doing some boutique pubs with rooms, and of course, we're doing Battersea as well, which is our next sort of big opening. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff going on.
Lots of plates spinning. So, I mean, just circling back ever so quickly to the Bancone side of things, because there are lots of UK concepts at the moment that are looking at where the growth markets are. They're looking
Yeah.
at how to grow, how to expand, what vehicles to use to kind of do that. And like, do you franchise, do you joint venture, do you go into kind of like hotel F&B? How do you kind of do this and how do you kind of scale? Now, obviously, you're not going to do one thing at a time. So you've decided to go to Paris and Dubai simultaneously. Just no massive surprise there. But are you doing franchise operations? How are you going to kind of like, do these company owned?
Cook, probably more of a joint venture.
Hmm.
We sort of believe that, we've partnered up with a company in Dubai. In fact, the CEO is somebody who's worked for me for 15 years. So it's no surprise there that, we keep it in the family, but they've got the expertise within their own countries. We are actually going to manage Paris. We're going to run that ourselves. So that's a big leap of faith, but not unusual because David was sat on boards in Paris for many years. So obviously between us all, we know the market pretty well. And I think that sort of fresh pasta counter, great little wine list, good cocktails, cool experience, and a bit of gourmands wrapped up in there should be highly received. So we found a fantastic site there, working with our acquisition guys here from London. So they're having lots of fun as well, sort of flying around and signing us international stuff. But we definitely see growth markets when the businesses get to the right place and the teams at the right level. Then I think you can go to that. But we're very, very protective over Bancone, and obviously Will and his team will be working super hard to make sure we've got a consistent experience, which is always the challenge of going international.
Absolutely. Now, Dubai at the moment, I mean, I don't want to get totally political and start getting into the Strait of Hormuz and all of that kind of stuff, Jason. I mean, we've only got 20 minutes for this chat, but
Yeah.
but in terms of, going in there now, I mean, there's a lot of people saying this is a turning point, and if you want to get in good property, get good people, all of that kind of stuff. Are you seeing this as the bottom of the market there, or?
Yeah, and I think people see it in London. I went into the market just after, obviously 2008 was when we moved to Dubai after the last crash. And I think what I experienced personally was, I think Dubai is very resilient. You know this because you trade a wonderful business there as well, don't you? So I think whilst we're seeing a flattening and we've seen lots of press and lots of stuff, what you see is an incredible amount of resilience. A country to this country, a government who really, really are pushing to, because they really recognise tourism and hospitality is such a key component to their wonderful country. So I think I expect Dubai to be back to normal from September, which incidentally ties into, I guess, when we'd be opening. So we've obviously planned it that way. I rang Donald up myself and asked him, I said, right, enough's enough now. Bancone's opening. We need you to bugger off and obviously listen to every word I said. So yeah, we've got influence at the highest levels.
At all levels. Well, my next question was going to be about your network, Jason, because it's pretty staggering in terms of the numbers of people in leadership roles and all of that kind of stuff that you've managed to keep in touch with over the years. And it's one thing that we're fortunate enough that we work within multiple sectors in terms of like FMCG and leisure and blah, 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 blah. But within hospitality, the network, especially the networks that you're part of, can really make businesses and really kind of like, so can you just tell us about how you nurture that, how you maintain that, and how you kind of like keep in touch with all those people?
Yeah, so I've got to be honest, given how I've always been strong on that, always been committed to that, particularly as a young MD CEO coming through the ranks. I think it's absolutely key, everything you've just said. I think now, given got so much going on, not just in the UK, but international and other projects that I do as well. Obviously, I've got my old school network. I think we're all guilty of, I would look to podcasts like this and that you guys do to see who's coming through. Most of our new network is basically young entrepreneurs who are approached to us, sort of reference to us, to talk about can we support them in building their restaurant. So yeah, my network's not as strong as it used to be. I've got to be honest. I don't do a lot of industry stuff like I used to do, and certainly don't give a lot of interviews because I'm so busy trying to do it rather than talk about it, if I'm honest. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think we should all put more time into that. If what I do say to people is, if anybody does need my help or advice, or I always take their calls. And if people reach out, I will always try and help them. That's about as much bandwidth as I've got right now. But yeah, you're right. I think is that if that a nod to you giving me some feedback that I need to do it better, because I was a bit of a master at it, but I'm less good at it. So I take your feedback on board.
Oh no, 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 no. It's no, I'm not throwing shade, my God, but it's like, but trust me, when you speak to people, like especially when you're in my position, you speak to people all day long about who would you recommend for this, who do you think for that, blah 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 blah. And like, especially for NED positions and things like that, your name is constantly hurtled out there, Jason.
But
So
like the old school guys.
yeah.
Listen, you get to I've been doing this for what 34 years now, and I was born into it through my family. So I don't know a lot about a lot else, but hopefully I've managed to become okay at hospitality over the years and growing a network. My network tends to be the old school guys and that my generation, but I'm very, very aware that there's some amazing talent coming through and as hungry and as unburdened and as less grumpy as a middle-aged Myers, my younger self, when I was all bushy-eyed and excited about the sector. I still find it joyous to meet these guys and our Splendid senior management team of co-founders are predominantly a lot younger than me and constantly remind me that I'm probably at the twilight of my career of creativity as they. But then again, we still keep turning out the odd magic thing here and there. So maybe there's life in the old dog yet. Let's see. But it's very kind of you to say.
So, I mean, my next question was going to be about how do you pick winners? And I think you alluded to kind of like a lot of it there about that passion, that energy, that drive, that ambition, that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kind of stuff. But there's lots of kind of like, young aspiring chefs and people like that who have that, but maybe don't necessarily have the business sense and focus and the consistency in order to kind of like do that. So when you are meeting up and you're thinking about where you're going to put your cash in with these people, or your backers cash in as well with these people as well, and recommend them to kind of others, what do you look for when you're meeting these people?
Likability, humility, and the ability to listen. Those three things that I would establish in the first 5 minutes of meeting those people. And if you've got that and you've got an idea and you're willing to learn, and the fact that you've sought out somebody like me, and there's lots of people like me out there willing to help these young guys because we want to see our business flourish. Um, for me, it's that it's just an alignment of goals. You're gonna be in a marriage for probably the best part of 10 years. You're going to give a lot of emotional. These guys become our kids. They become family members. We go through weddings with them. We go through children with them. We go through their evolve. We go from them being the young lion to wanting to be, ready to take over the savannah, and then keeping that lion under control and supported. So, it works as much for me and David. We get just as much inspiration and relevance from the guys because they're often, of the market, that cutting edge, and then we just wrap around. We call ourselves the fun police. So we do the fun police stuff. We get them proper accountants. We get them controls. We get them systems. We get them IT. We get them process. We get them builders. We get them contractors. I just do all the boring stuff anymore, and they do all the sexy stuff, and that's why it works.
Love that. And like, I mean, I know that kind of like, when you go into these things a lot of the time, it's the drive, the energy, the enthusiasm, the passion, all of that kind of stuff. But not every day is a sunny day, right? And not every business, unfortunately, succeeds, especially within kind of like, this sector. You don't have to name names with this, but kind of like, can you just tell us a little bit about a situation where it hasn't worked out, where you've had to turn something around, or you've had to make some kind of difficult decisions?
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, of course, if you're giving a peach interview, you're just up there singing about all your great successes, but you learn so much more, really, don't you, about the challenging times at the minute. A young entrepreneur right now will never come into the hospitality industry and face so many challenges. So having an old dog like me and David around is really, really helpful right now, because you don't want the lights to go off. You want them to be excited and youthful and still passionate about our industry. Let's be honest, Christian, what actually kills most entrepreneurs succeeding, it's everything that takes them away from what they're good at and why they're
Yeah.
passionate about the industry. And you know this because you've gone from being all that about, bushy-eyed, starting your business all those years ago. And now you run a proper company in it's different things, and it's all that stuff that takes you away from where your superpowers were originally. So in this context, it's if you're a great chef, but you can't cook anymore because you're obsessed about allergens and where you're paying your bills and can you pay your suppliers, and you're constantly working on all this boring fun. Having old dogs like us around just saying, look, it's okay. We know how we can fix this. It's okay as long as you keep your eyes on your numbers, but most importantly, you do what you're good at. Exceptional food, amazing service, particularly in central London. Create a community for people to feel part of your brand. It's not just being a brand and being sizable and rolling out. Those days have gone. If you're going to do that, you've got to create a sense of community and connection. And I think it's when you lose sight of that is that where people struggle.
Absolutely. One of the things I've always been very impressed with you is kind of like, the ability to kind of like the segments that you go into, a lot of people, other people, no, I wouldn't say are running away from, but kind of like, but I mean, there's a slight element of that, right? Because you guys went in with Grosvenor and you took over a lot of sites with Grosvenor that people weren't going after, and you redeveloped them, you redid them, and like you've just very successfully exited kind of like the business in kind of two parts. You're going into Battersea at the moment as well, and we get lots of mixed reviews kind of like about Battersea at the moment as well, and you guys are opening there in September. It would be great to do this question kind of two parts and maybe get kind of like a little bit about that Grosvenor Pubs kind of journey, because I think that's super interesting. And then also if we can afterwards get your kind of thoughts on Battersea, that'd be great.
Okay, so I mean, Grosvenor's probably a whole interview in itself, so I'll try and give you the highlights. I think Grosvenor was a fantastic thing that was developed with lots of positivity. Did we really want to go into the pub space? We'd probably always said we wouldn't. But actually, we generally felt that there was an opportunity there to do really great pubs. And, I think the thing about pubs that makes it challenging is anybody can walk into a pub and within the first minute, they'll know whether it's a good pub or not. Everybody's an expert in this country because pubs is part of the British DNA. So you've just got to be good. And particularly in central London, I think there's some pub operators now doing exceptional things. I think in the suburbs, I think it was very mixed. And I think there's a lot of groups that own a lot of really beautiful pubs. They're doing okay. It's, let's go with that because, again, not a throw shader, but I think the industry could do a lot better. I think we over celebrate mediocrity. And I think the British pub is absolutely sensational when it's sensational, but 95% of the time it underdelivers and it's underwhelming. And that's the real shame. So we felt that we could go into that space buy asset, develop it with, with some real old school hospitality mentality, some great leaders that were bigger. We were paying more money for proper leaders to come and run these businesses, and we were growing our company accordingly. So but underpinned by a very strong rooms business. And I think that was the magic of what happened with it. So yeah, that was that. Anyway, the honesty, it's great that everybody's saying that we've had this big success and everything, but we actually ran out of roads. We couldn't raise, we wanted to do more. We loved it. We were passionate about it. We had to sell it before its time. So I'm actually, you learn a lot from that experience. So yeah, a little bit frustrated because we weren't ready to part ways, but we didn't have the personal funds to put into it to take it to the next level. So it's gone to its new owners. I'm sure they're going to do a phenomenal job with it. And, but for David and I, it's a bit bittersweet because we, to say that we're a small investment company, we've never sold anything yet. So we're really good at growing and developing brands, but we just start to like them and we want to do more of it. So I think we're actually collectors, not sellers. But in this case, unfortunately, our investors alongside us had decided that they wanted to sell, and obviously we had the opportunity to buy them out. But the current debt market, which don't start me on about that, in hospitality, is just so frustrating. So we had a great business, amazing management team, super ambitious, wanted to do more, and we actually ran out of road. So that's the honesty. Sold, it's gone to two really good owners who are much bigger than us in scale. I'm sure they'll help it take the DNA and further roll it on. So yeah, we're excited to see what they do with it now. So our part of the journey's over and we move on.
And then with Battersea, in terms of that side of things, kind of like, so tell us a bit about the concepts you're putting in there. And I just guess kind of like, what your sense of the whole kind of development is.
I'm going to totally contradict everything you've been told about Battersea. I think Battersea is one of the coolest developments London's ever seen. I think in the early days, as it happened with Canary Wharf and other big developments, they were really slow at getting going. And then you ask any of the major brands now, they'll go there at a shot. It's actually whether they can get in or not. I think Battersea's the same. However, what Battersea's done, which I think's a bit more clever than some of the other major massive schemes, is they've actually built a community. It's one of the coolest communities I've ever been. And actually, as you know, I don't live in central London. I'm a bit of a country bumpkin, but if I was going to live anywhere in London, I would actually live in Battersea. I think it's fantastic. There's 3,000 people actively living in there, not homeowners. They actively live there. Super strong community. They put doctors in, they put dentists in. So it's actually a genuine community. I think some of the F&B brands that went in originally probably went in too soon, a little bit too aggressively. I think they're changing the tenant mix. They've brought a wonderful lady in to rechange the whole retail and F&B that we know super well. She's an old friend of mine. If you're asking for somebody in our network, she'd be in there. She's called Julia. She was head of Shaftesbury for 20 years. Amazing lady. We're great vision for it with amazing owners, by the way. The owners who've put this 12 billion into it. And I think it's one of the most beautiful developments, taking an old dirty power station and making it into this incredible. I think it's wonderful. So yeah, we are optimistic about it. I am aware of the ups and downs of it. I think the tenant mix that they've got coming there, and by the way, I don't know whether you know, that's only half of it. The other half's it's in consultation at the minute. So there's between Battersea and Nine Elms, there's like a whole gap there. That's the second phase of Battersea. It's going to almost, I think it increases by almost another 55% of homes and community real estate. It's on the Thames. I think it's time I think the original guys that struggled have been, sadly, as we see, so many will be flushed out. And then I think there'll be we just think it's the right time for us now. we understand that market, we understand our consumers are there, and we're taking multiple brands there. So we're doing some really big stuff there. So I guess I would say that, but for David and I, that's not borrowed money. It's not coming from anywhere. That's coming from the kids' inheritance fund. So we better get it right, because that's going to be a big one, that one for us. So no, we're excited about it, and I'll be delighted to invite you in September to the first part of the opening, because then there's a second part, and then there's a third part next year. So we're going to have, I think it's something like 25,000 square feet of real estate there. So yeah,
that's crazy.
So yeah, we are in. We're well in.
And tell us about the concept that you're actually putting in there, because that's a lot of space, right?
Yeah, but it's three different concepts. The last one, again, I've got to be careful, because this is one of our super. I mean, these guys are different level creative. I can't wait to tell you about these two. Definitely needed David and I, but on a creative level, different level. And every meeting I have with him is like going back to school. Half the time, I don't even understand what they're saying. They use words that I have to Google. And even when I Google them, they don't come up, because they're actually creating their own vocabulary, their own rules, yeah. So I'll come and talk to you about that maybe another time. But that's a different level of hospitality that I can't wait to unleash into London. That's going to be a global scale project, I'm sure.
That is amazing.
The first one is we're putting a really amazing pub in there called the Heroes Return. So again, on the riverside, on the front, I think Battersea's got everything. What it's missing is an incredible pub right in the middle. And we're working with super talented chef who was at St. John's 16 years, Jonathan. He was their exec. So foods will be incredible. It'll be a proper pub with incredible restaurant and an amazing terrace. So, so again, we're hoping that's we're creating the next Devonshire in Battersea. Come on, let's be confident.
I love that. That's amazing. Now, I've got to ask a political question, because obviously, it hasn't been the best kind of like couple of years in terms of government support and all of that side of things, and the narrative from hospitality has been kind of quite changeable over that period, kind of as well. But like, we obviously have this opportunity which is coming up now in terms of like midterm kind of like change and all of that kind of stuff. What do you think, as somebody who runs multiple businesses with entrepreneurs, and I'm very passionate about saying that kind of like hospitality is such a good incubator for entrepreneurship, and such good opportunity on that side of things as well, to stimulate growth, to try and make sure that we're giving people as many opportunities as possible, and also trying to make London that aspirational incubator that it used to be. I'm very positive about London, but it has lost a bit of the shine, let's be honest about it. But what do you think the government could do to get it back to its former status?
I'll be really honest at this stage. As long as we can visit, we don't finish on this, and that we can.
Sure,
let's call this a feedback sandwich. That the first bit's been a bit about what's going on. Now I'm going to make some really strong statements, but we need to finish on a sexy high, right? So
fine,
this is the low point. I've never ever in all my time in the industry had a government that's had such a negative, critical effect on the hospitality industry per se, almost to a point where, I'm just going to say it, I'm going to come out, everybody stops at it, but I think they're actively targeting our industry in a negative way. It's clearly that the government don't like hospitality. They see us as a drain, or, they just don't recognize at all what this industry does for culture, for the Britishness, for our community, for London in particular. I'm just shocked and stunned, and never ever, apart from COVID, which we can't really blame the government at that time, but I've never ever seen such a detrimental set of decisions that's had such a horrendous effect. We're paying the highest rates of VAT, where we've got inflation out of control. We're paying money out where we don't need to be. We're putting minimum wage up where we can't afford it. Now, let me just quantify that before I get booed out of town. I do believe that we should be invested in people and the minimum wage and improving working standards. Of course, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be done at a time when the country can afford it. We've had multiple increases going through, and you've actually, God forbid, with a couple of my leader pals that you interviewed one of him recently, who's actually saying that they've stopped taking under 21s on. Outrageous, because they can't afford, because the minimum wage now, the gap is so high for of what you're paying young people that nobody's saying that publicly, obviously, but that's what's going on, and it's outrageous. So we're damaging the industry, to a point. Now, listen, it does. There's the flip side of it um, it's killing some of the creative young people who've gone on their own, who probably need support and a bit of encouragement and stuff. But overall, where it's really affecting is the mid range. And when you've got pub groups coming out and releasing their amazing like-for-like numbers, even when they're not listed, what does that actually mean? So in one breath, they're writing all over the papers that we need to, we need all this support from the government. It's all terrible. And then 3 weeks later, they're releasing that they've got this incredible set of results, even though they don't need to release the results because they're not even listed. So what's that audience for? It's about investors. So the problem with what the government's done, they've closed all investment to our industry. The only investment deals that are getting done is businesses that don't need it, and all they're doing is refinancing. They're just moving from one to try and save a percent here and there. Debt's never been higher, borrowing's never been higher, and you can't raise money right now, which is stifling the growth. So it's only a couple of daft buggers like me and David Ramsey who are out there, instead of saying, let's bail out for the next 3 years, which is pretty much what the whole of the investment sector's done in hospitality. They've all keep talking about they want to do tech. And so what do you lot know about tech? Invest in, there's still good people. And like, no, no, no. So yeah, it's been tough, brother. And I would like to see a total change of government. I think we're getting swept up in the Andy Burnham. I've met Andy Burnham. I actually think he's a really, really nice guy. He's a solid guy. And I think he's a much better politician than Keir Starmer. But what underpins the Labour Party is this belief metrics. And look, what's the other thing? Trump said it yesterday. We can't afford, we're raising taxes higher than anybody in Europe. We're putting VAT up. We're targeting industries. The third, is it? Are we the third or fourth biggest employer? They're targeting us when we're sat with, a load of oil in the North Sea that could actually generate profit for us right now, which I know again is controversial, but we just need to. We've got an army that's underfunded. We've got a government that's not working. The only thing that, when politicians come out and say we've got a broken Britain, it makes me absolutely fuming, because the only thing that's broken is Westminster. So we need to sort out a direction, not just for hospitality, for the whole of the government, and we need to we really need to see some change, but real change, not this tinkering and politics and mad stuff. So yeah, I'm about as angry and as opinionated on this as I would have ever been in throughout my career, purely on the basis that, like I said right at the start, I've never seen a government have such a negative impact on our industry.
100%. I think there's a lot of people who share exactly the same sentiment, Jason. So I don't think you're alone on that one at all. Now, in terms of spinning
Can we be
plates,
positive now? My blood
yeah,
pressure's gone
100%,
up.
100%. Well, the next question's a mental health question. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you've been like global career, traveling all over the world, turning
yeah.
around kind of underperforming businesses, helping out lots of different kind of concepts, working with entrepreneurs. On the face of it, it sounds amazing, you know what I mean? But I'm sure it's kind of like, one of the most stressful, like, kind of keep you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of like, types and hours that you can possibly have. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you? I know you're a massive family man because we've had so many chats, and you tell me about what's happening with the kids and all of that kind of stuff before we even talk about work half the time. But it's like, but tell us a little bit about what keeps you grounded, what keeps you stable, and like, when you are feeling a little bit like you need a battery recharge, what you do.
Family life, as you know, as you just said, massively important to me. Honesty with myself, that because of my, which we would have never talked about years ago, there is much more self-awareness around mental health, and my own superpowers is what I choose to call them, which I've learned to hone better as I've got older and calmer. And I think if there was anything missing from, a career that really sort of drove on for me from being 30, it would have been having, much more self-awareness around how my superpowers not only have an effect on me, but potentially on others as well. And if there's one thing that I would have changed over the years, I just wish I was as um, aware and as reflective today as I would have been sort of, 18, 20 years ago for sure. So that's real. I mean, and that's true. I think what I reflect on now is what I've got. I've put some, maybe I should say, Shara, my long suffering better half that you've met, has put some restrictions in around me that I now embrace and think they're my ideas and it's good for me. Is I take more frequent breaks, even when I feel I can't. Um, so I know that if I haven't been away or out or stepped off this intense wheel for 12 weeks, after that point, there's like a very, very strong fall off of my values. And luckily, I've got some pretty strong people around me that are there to remind me of when I need to do that. So I've done more simplistic stuff. I'm lucky, as you said, I do a lot of global stuff and all the fancy stuff and all that kind of thing. But actually, we're never happier than when Shara and I are doddering off in our little motorhome down to France and with our two Frenchies, and we get camped up for the weekend. And I pretty much switch off and always make sure I haven't told anybody, which I guess is going to come out now. I always tell them that I've got no reception. I've actually got Starlink on the top of it, so I've got brilliant reception. But I do switch off, and then by the time I drive back and I'm coming over the train on Monday morning, arriving back in Folkestone, I'm like brand new and ready to go again. So just little things like that, more frequent breaks, wellness, exercise, Frenchies help a lot. Just make you feel better about yourself and life in general, and then obviously just family time, and I think the final thing I would say is, and I hope you recognize this in me because you know me for a long time from being selfish and ambitions to hopefully being much more, self-aware now is selflessness, and that's not something that's given to anybody. It's something that you have to work at because we can all be selfish, right? But and particularly as a leader, some would even argue you need to be selfish, but I've actually learned that through other people and through the talent of other people, I get a lot more joy in helping Will, Joe, Tom, Tony, all these leaders, amazing people that work for me, is I get a lot more joy from seeing them grow and I just enjoy not having to be the guy anymore or the girl or the leader, whatever. I kind of am, of course I am. It's natural and I can't walk away from my DNA, but actually seeing others do it and grow gives me so much more joy, and I really wish I'd have found that earlier.
Amazing.
But there you
Everyone
go.
loves a camper van. Everybody loves a camper van, I
I
have to
love my
say.
camper van.
I didn't think we were going to be going there on this interview, but it's funny how these things turn out, right? So
All
last question, and just kind of like a bit of a snapshot, and you just kind of like alluded to it a little bit there, but if you could go back 30, 32 years, you've just started off your career, you're just getting into hospitality, like, it's like if you really wanted a career in hospitality right now and you're watching this as a 22-year-old sparky individual, what advice would you give them? What path would they take? What should they be doing to get a career like yours?
Get as much experience, exposure, give it everything. Positive things happen to positive people. Back yourself. Charlie, my son's just finished his hospitality degree at Oxford
Really?
Brookes. Yeah, he's now getting exposed to lots of things. And I've said to him, listen, just get more exposure, learn what you can, travel, work in different places, like I did on somebody else's payroll, learn as much as you can. When you stop learning or you feel that you're ready to go to the next thing or you're less motivated, move. So all this nonsense about people tell you about staying in the same place. There's one thing it often got used against me in interviews was you've moved around a lot, and I'll say, yeah, it's great, isn't it? And they used to look at me the interview like it was something dirty. A lifelong career in one company is something that was there for our parents and our
Yeah.
grandparents. It's not today. It's give your all, give everything you can to that organization that's looking after you. Learn as much as you can. Take everything from that experience. And when you're not learning anymore and stuff, you've got to carry on. Every day is a school day. And when you're not learning, it's time to move to the next thing. But always remember why you came into this industry. It's creative. No day's ever different. It's people. It is caring. It is a sense of community. And we've got more positive people with more awareness, looking after people. I mean, it bodes well. I see a lot of brilliance. I see a lot of youth. I see the thing that would break my heart today, and I would have never been aware of. I've been too busy trying to do it, is seeing great talent with the lights turned off for lots of reasons that I would call, which is outside it. Get yourself somebody that can help you. I see a lot more about mentoring programs now. Just drop an old git like me a message on the phone and say, can I come and talk to you? Go and talk to as many people as you can, learn as much as you can. And then when you're brave enough, you've built this confidence, you've built the stats, and you're going to have a go, you'll be a much better chance of being a successful entrepreneur. And I, for one, will support you and be very proud of what you've achieved, because it is tough and it is difficult, and you've got to be relentless, and you've got to have you've just got to be bloody minded and just be clear on your vision, and then make sure that you're kind to everybody around you. No matter how much they piss you off, try and be kinder to people around you, because they will look after you and they'll look after your guests and everybody. You'll have a sense of community, and you'll do well.
Such a good answer. Jason, I really, really, really enjoyed that chat. It's been so nice. Got to be honest, like I jumped onto the call beforehand and I was just called for blah, 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 blah. And it's just the calming influence of Jason Myers is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're
Best of luck
welcome.
with Battersea. Best of luck with Dubai, with Paris, with
Well,
global
you're
domination
coming.
and
You'll
all
be
of that
coming
kind of
to
stuff.
them all, so make sure
Yeah,
you've
exactly.
got time to come and visit.
I'm actually in Dubai in September, so I'm going to make sure that I drop by and have a look as well. So that'll be awesome. So we'll see you for a beer there. But thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care, brother. God bless.